Yeah, we're recording. All right. So, yes, it's recording now. All right. So, backstory. We the book. I wrote a book, Awakening the Light, and we did a Kickstarter campaign to try and help fund the publication and promotion of the book. And so, the first call was the first launch, Zoom launch, was to really. It was focused on people who had supported the Kickstarter, had contributed to the Kickstarter, as well as people who had been reviewers and written reviews and helped me out in that way. So the first one was really a big thank you. We appreciate you. And this is what we're doing and how you can help us in the future. And part of the how you can help us in the future is that the book itself is very focused on integrated healing. And so having mind, body, and spirit all part of the healing and recognizing the importance of that. And so we think about the three different communities that could then perhaps benefit from this book. And so my ask in the last call was for people to think about mind, the therapists in their life that they might want to make aware of this book, body, the doctors or nurses or whomever, practitioners, medical practitioners in their life that might benefit from the book, and then with the spirit, the faith leaders in their life. And so we're asking people to send us names to be a part of this next call and have some invitation around that. I had someone who had I'd reached out to actually the person who does stuff at my church, and he gave me a name, and that's who I had involved in the last launch. And not to be ugly, but she was a little oversold in her abilities. And so there was a whole lot of, well, let's try this and let's try that. It ended up, so some of the things that I was wanting to do was, so like, for example, we lit a candle in the beginning to create community. So, and I wanted all nine of, we had nine people kind of who were going to be spotlighted in some way on the call. And so I wanted all nine of us to light our candle, kind of representing community. And so I saw us like the Brady Bunch with the 9 box, and every one of us lighting the candle. Well, that didn't happen at all.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Was the meeting set up as a meeting or as a webinar?
Thank you. I've been told it should have been a webinar.
Yes, that's what it should be.
Yeah, thank you. That was going to be something someone else said. It should have been a webinar. So you're at, thank you. Yes, so already adding value. Thank you. Yes, because and it was okay that it wasn't polished, because this was, kind of community tribe people, but the next one's going to be professionals. And so I really want to make sure we hit it. And so, yes, I agree. If we could do it from a webinar perspective,
and your account have that capacity.
Does my account?
Your Zoom account. So so you need to check that, because you pay for that. Mm-hmm. Of course. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's different numbers. I'm sure there's different prices for the different number of participants you think will be coming to the event. So that's something really important to check.
I can have 100. I know that.
Okay.
And I don't think we're going to hit that.
Okay.
But at the webinar piece, I don't know. So I will look into that. And I'll upgrade if I need to make that possible.
And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you. So that was one piece. Another piece was I wanted to have, so we had this author Q&A. And so I wanted to have kind of Tori was the interviewer and I was the respondent. And so I wanted the two of us to be, kind of on the screen having dialogue. And what it ended up being was the slide and Tori and I in boxes and kind of toggling between the two, which anyway, similarly, this will be more focused around a few people talking. And as we go through the agenda, I can say that more, but that was another kind of miss we had last time. So I can see you pondering.
Yeah, well, we'd have to rehearse and make sure we could do that. A lot of my experience with Zoom has been, once it's really the presentation is really buttoned up. I mean, a technical rehearsal is so important to work out the kinks beforehand.
Yeah. We had 2 last time and we still didn't work out the kinks.
Okay.
But we will do that. Yes, a technical rehearsal. Yes. So contextually, is there anything you want me to give you backstory around? Or are we ready to kind of move into the actual content of the...
Why don't we move into the actual content, and then I'll just keep track of questions if they come up.
Okay, that sounds great. I sent a Word document with the agenda. You've got that?
I have it open.
Perfect.
And I also have the slides open.
Okay, perfect. Because what I was thinking I could do is kind of walk through the slides while we're walking through the documents.
Yeah.
So
and just so you know, I noticed on one of the slides, there's a duplicate, the Salty Blossom.
Mm-hmm.
The description is the same as the woman with the blanket.
Okay. And we're getting the Salty Blossoms, looking for my PowerPoint document. There it is.
So just
we're looking for her description. Thank you. Yep, we're working for her description. Yeah, and we'll replace that. But yes, that level of detail is always appreciated. Thank you.
I'm a Virgo. Just Mary Frances and I are 1 year and 1 day apart in birthdays.
Oh wow! Well, I'm going to make Mary Frances smile. As I say, I've been through a technical review of my PowerPoint slides before with her, so I know what that can mean. Oh goodness. So again, this is a little bit of a work in progress, but I wanted to make sure we had kind of just a general sense of it. But I think for the most part, we're pretty good. So this is going to be, I'm going to try and keep it more quickly moving than we had before, just because before it was a warm fuzzy. This is more of a content focus. The beginning part is I'm going to have 10 minutes, or actually, 10 minutes of a song playing and slides going as people are kind of coming on. And so what I'm doing in the very beginning is to really kind of these at the very end, we have some gift giveaways. And so this is just letting them know about the people who have contributed to the gifts. So we've got a piece of artwork, we have the blankets, we have the soap, we have the bracelet, which we'll have that. I'm going to take that right now. And then I'm going to have quotes from each one of the people who will be speaking. So, and LaDane actually was on the last call, and I want to take a clip of hers, and I'll explain that in a minute a little more, a clip of what she said, and then have others respond to that clip. But again, this first part are really slides that are scrolling as people are waiting in the room, just giving them a sense of kind of voices from different reviewers. We've got LaDane, and then I'm going to try and get a couple more. You can see the people I haven't gotten yet. Debbie Coles spoke on the last one, and Debbie. Oh, there should be Leslie should be here too. Oh well, I'll make sure Leslie's here too, because Leslie was a speaker last time as well.
Okay.
So we'll have slides representing all the different people whose voices we'll be hearing from.
Okay, so questions. Or do you want me to hold questions to the end?
No, I think it makes sense to do it as we go.
Okay, so as far as the song, I'm looking at the PowerPoint the Word doc that you sent, so starting the song at 6:50, is that, so This Is Me, which is like my all-time favorite song. Is it gonna be a loop?
I think
for
we
the 10
play it
minutes?
twice. Yeah, I think we need to play it.
Okay, and so that's something you want me to do and run. And then also the timing of the slides, is that something I will be figuring, setting up for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So last time the person she played music, but she actually played the wrong music.
Mhm.
I told Tambry that you could build it in to the slide.
Yeah, probably what I was thinking and the reason I asked the question, if you wanted me to do the timing, to do the actual, figuring out how long each slide should stay up, I'll probably break the presentation apart into two different and then run the timing.
Okay.
In just the beginning, and then have the second slideshow ready to go. That won't have the automatic timing of
Got
the
it.
slides.
That makes sense.
It'll just be a lot cleaner.
Okay. And kind of from a big picture perspective, we're thinking that those first slides that are just about the person who's doing the donation, we don't need as much time for those. We kind of arbitrarily put some time to it, but you have plenty of latitude around how much you want to stay. And then more time for the quotes, just to give
Sure, so that they can read the whole thing.
Exactly. So we kind of did an arbitrary, guess around 15 seconds and 30 seconds, but that's just, again, completely arbitrary, just trying to recognize one will have more time than the other.
Sure.
Okay. So then we get to hard start at 7. And I'm going to jump on and just talk, welcome everybody, thank them for their time, and talk about, all right, and so this is something I was curious. I tried to represent what we did last time, Mary Frances, but I was thinking I wanted to make sure the words spoke to you, because I think our intent around this. But I said, what today is about sharing, about inspiring, and about expanding. Does that sound right to you?
Okay. Yep.
So I will elaborate on those points. And then I'm not going to do quite as, big of a deal about telling everybody to have a candle in advance, that kind of thing. But I'm going to say, all the presenters are going to light a candle to create community. And if you have a candle you would like to light as well, please feel free to join us, kind of thing. And at this point, and at one point, I thought I was going to introduce everybody then, but I want to just keep this fast and really give the time for the discussion. So I think if we could just maybe have all the faces just kind of come up, and like I said, kind of the Brady Bunch boxes, just all of us kind of lighting a candle. Does that work, Miss Michelle?
Yeah, with a webinar, and I assume the people who are speaking will be on the tech rehearsal.
I'm going to try. I'm not sure that I'll be able to get everybody on.
Okay. Maybe not, if we're doing 2, maybe they can make one or the other. Yeah, you and I should kind of work together on how to set up the webinar. Because there are different choices that you can allow. So what you want the panelists to be able to start their video.
Okay.
So there's certain settings that we just need to make sure are available. And, as far as the number of people in a screen, I'm pretty sure 9, because I sometimes do meetings on an iPad and it shows 9 people. So, but yeah, so we would just have to ask the panelists to start their video so that they would be showing. Because if the video is not on, then they're there, but they're not seen.
Okay, got it. Yes.
The last time the host had muted everybody's camera, and when I got introduced, I couldn't turn my own camera on. So.
Yeah. So this will be completely different from last time because it's a webinar and not a meeting.
Yeah.
So you actually won't be seeing the participants.
Yeah. And that's just fine. Yeah. So we'll have the collective lighting. And then I was asked a little more than I did last time about just my background and the organization, that type of thing. So I came up with this slide. And again, Mary Frances, I'm open to language edits here. but I just thought, talk a little bit about the genesis of the book and, share a little bit about my background, the formation of the Going Forward Survivors to Thrivers organization, and then the purpose of the book, which would include, who we see as the audience, as well as it being a resource to practitioners in the 3 different fields.
So I'm just that, like Michelle pointed out, she didn't use these words, but just that anal little details.
Yep, that's why I'm pulling down. Yep.
So, like you would want to italicize the name of your book.
I don't have the book up.
Going forward.
This is the organization. So the formation of Going Forward Survivors to Thrivers organization. So that's us as a organization. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I could say purpose of the book. Well, I've got the book right here. So that's
Yeah.
listed. And you can ruminate. We've got weeks before we have to have this finalized, so you can ruminate on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I have a little bit of time for questions. You'll see it in a minute. So I have this. If you have questions for Tambry, put them in the chat box. And because I would like to be able to do that, but again, I want to make sure I don't shortcut. Yes, Michelle.
So with a webinar, you have a different option than you have in normal meetings.
Okay.
You have a chat box option, which you have more control over, but you also have something that's not available in meetings that's called Q&A.
Oh, okay.
So once we go over how to set up a webinar, I think you're probably going to want to change that line to say, please submit a question. Because we can determine, please submit a question. And it's much easier to keep track of questions.
Okay. And should I say, please submit a question? Is it a Q&A box that they see?
Right. I don't know yet, but I will.
I'll just say that. I'll just for now say Q&A box, and we'll play with that.
Yeah, and we can clean it up.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So at that point, I'm going to move us quickly to say that we had an earlier launch for people who have been supportive of this effort, both from a Kickstarter and as well as previous reviews. And in that launch, we had 3 experts from the 3 different fields. And so I'm going to share a real quick clip from each, and then have other panelists that I will introduce talk about their thoughts on what they've heard. So the first, we'll start with mine. So we have Leslie, and I sent you the video, and I tried to get it as small as possible. And Michelle, when you listen, if there's something that you think, we don't need that much, or ooh, you missed this important part, I'm totally open. My whole goal was to get the meatiest parts of what they said, and so we've got time for the dialogue. But this is again a little bit of art and science with the selection around the length of time.
All right, and this is on YouTube, so I could always download it and edit it. So.
Yep, exactly. So we'll show Leslie, and then I will invite. Okay, so here's a question. Leslie had 2 slides that she wanted to actually. I'm answering my own question. Where I was going was that in the video, when the video is showing that this slide is up, when she's talking. And so you really see this slide and you see Leslie and I up in a box up in the corner. So I don't see there being any reason for us to have this slide in our PowerPoint because it'll be showing when we do the video. So
Right, right.
So then Leah, Dr. Leah Charnon, Leah, I'm going to get it, Mary Frances. It's going to get there in my brain. Leah Charnon is one of our participants, and so she is prepared, and she's got such a heart for this this work and this what we're doing. So when I think about people that can be available for the practice, I think we'll be able to figure out a time to get her on there. But anyway, so she's one of my therapists, and I've got another therapist I'm hoping for. He's reviewing the book right now. He's a childhood sexual abuse survivor, doctor, therapist person who is a little more of a national level. And so I'm trying to work him a little bit. So hopefully we get Paul. So what I will do is I will introduce Leah and Paul. And after we've shown the video, and I will have provided a couple of kind of advanced questions for them to have noodled on. And I'm giving them the clip. Actually, when you skinny down the clips, Michelle, maybe that will be good for me, because right now I could give them the whole thing and say, watch this clip if you want. But if I could just send them just that clip that we're going to be showing, then it'll be even more tailored for them. Is that possible?
Say just a little more. Yes, it's possible to tailor down the clip, but I'm not quite sure what you're asking me to do.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to tailor down the clip for for this thing. Well, I'm thinking when we have that little sub clip, I could email that clip to Paul and Leah in advance so they know exactly what they're hearing.
Okay, so Paul was on the previous, so
No.
He'll be on that clip? So I guess that's my question.
Okay, so the clip will be Leslie, and because she was on the previous one, and I'll be sending Leslie's clip to Leah and hopefully Paul.
Thank you.
And they will be the ones opining on what they
got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yes.
Mary Frances, I'm thinking again, just some real basic questions like, how do you see this being a resource to, yourself and the therapy community? And then there was another question. I talked to my pastor, and he said, something about, the fact that this is such a sensitive topic. How will this book help you be able to broach and explore it with others? Or how could this be a resource, given the fact that it's so hard for people to really engage around this? So do you have thoughts? And this could be something that, again, is we don't have to answer this question today, but I figured it'd make sense for you to just raise it. Do you have, I'm thinking again, maybe 2, maybe 3 questions that you would want us to ask them to kind of really get at what we're trying to accomplish with this outreach.
So a few questions for the therapists.
Yeah. And they probably would be, they might be the same questions for all 3 groups. We can think about that.
Okay, let me think about it. But the question you just asked, about this, how do you approach it because it's a sensitive topic? Mm-hmm. Having the book to hand to someone is one of the best ways to approach it, because they don't even have to engage in conversation. Mm-hmm. Initially, you can just say, here's a resource. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have any, I don't think, and you tell me, but because there are no graphic details of anything in the book, mm-hmm. It's not one of these books that would be triggering to people. Mm-hmm. It has very gentle, like I said, almost self-care stops along the way with thought questions. So I feel like the book itself is uh, just a resource you can hand someone who's not ready to talk about the sensitive topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. So from a time perspective, like I said, Leslie's video is around 3 minutes. And then I thought and this is where I want to keep it quick, but I also want to make sure it's rich. I thought 10 minutes for the maybe 8 to 10 minutes for Leah and Paul. Does that seem about right for this forum, this format?
All right. For the two or the three of them?
It's so Leslie, we'll show the video of Leslie. So that's the 3 minutes. And then it's an 8 or 10 minute reflection by Leah and Paul.
A total, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their reflection is solid. Or is that the question part?
Oh, that's going to be, so when we met with Leah yesterday, but basically the ask is, kind of respond to, and what I might say, maybe my 3 things are, what are your initial thoughts about what Leslie shared? That might be 1. 2 is probably, how do you see it benefiting you and your community? And then 3 might be, given the fact that this is such a sensitive topic, how do you see the book being a resource? And I can put the little bit that you just shared and when I'm coaching them in advance, but kind of using that and allowing Leah and Paul to kind of dialogue a little bit about it. So I see it a little more like a dialogue versus just Leah talk and then Paul talk.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a good amount of time to me.
Okay. Because I mean, that's the bulk of the agenda to do this. That we're talking, because if we give 8 to 10 minutes and for each one of those, for each group, so just theoretically, if we did 10 for each group, that's 30 minutes right there. And then you've got the little video pieces. And so I gave the thing 35 minutes, that segment 35 minutes. So I just want to make sure you kind of felt like that was good. So I'm closing. Okay, so we're gonna we have Leah and Paul, and then we move to body, and we've got Debbie. We have a clip from her, and then we have Cheryl Cornelius, who is a professor at Queen's University, a doctor who's agreed to speak. And I'm working on another doctor who I'm hoping this will happen. She's actually, I think it's kind of cool. The practice, and it's kind of a more holistic practice, but it's Thrive. The organization's called Thrive Carolinas, which is kind of cool since we're survivors to thrivers. So anyway, I'm working to see if I can get that person to be my other doctor. So we'll have the exact same format for this group. And then we'll move to spirits, and we'll show LaDane's segment. And then we have, and LaDane is the same as Leslie, and this is up while she's talking, so I'll delete that. I have a district superintendent who's lined up to speak. And then we have our illustrious Mary Frances Comer. And so again, we'll show LaDane's piece, and then we'll have Anthony and Mary Frances kind of have some dialogue between them about the value of it to the faith community. Michelle.
I'm just wondering, so as far, and we might not even be here yet, but with this slide up with Mary Frances, are we giving people time to read this slide?
So two answers to that. One, they will hopefully have read the slide earlier because we will have had it when they're in the waiting room. And then when I introduce, I'll be doing a tiny bit of introduction. And as I'm introducing Mary Frances, I see the slide up and they're reading it. But at the same time, and we could, if we want to shorten the slide a little bit, I just put the full quote up for the time being. If we want to shorten it to make sure that we get certain things popping for them, I'm happy to do that. But I do not see to give them time to read the full thing.
Yeah, because it's definitely a long read, time-wise.
So, Mary,
so I wouldn't actually be saying these words.
Nope. It would kind of be in the, like I said, it would be up while I'm introducing you, and then I will begin speaking. And so I would see from a format perspective, I would see the slide up, and maybe I guess maybe I'm in the corner talking, and I'll be introducing you, and they'll be seeing the slide, and then you can come up, and this is actually very helpful to think through. So with Anthony, do we maybe again, so he'll have a quote and I'll be talking about him, and maybe we don't bring him on quite yet, and then I introduce you and your quote, and then pull you and Anthony up to then move into the dialogue. Does that seem appropriate?
I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, this is what we'll work through with the technical stuff.
Because again, I want it to be as quick as possible so that we have time. I'm really trying to make sure I save time for the real meat of the conversation.
Right, exactly.
It's a lot of people. So like at this point in your mind, Tambry, at what point are we now time-wise at this point in the...
We're about 7:25.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 7:35. And one thing I wanted to mention to you, Mary Frances, I want to stay, and I'm going to talk to Anthony about this too. I want to stay because again, as you know, religion can be triggering for people because some of us have had that used against us when it was happening to us. And so, Michelle, part of my story is I think I had a lot of sin language used on me as a child. And so if you talk about the fact that I have a sinful nature, it just gets me pretty pissed off, And so although I am a Protestant and all that good stuff, but I know what it's like. So what I want to make sure of is that when they're hearing about the spirit elements and the value to faith leaders, I want them to hear that it's written intentionally to be inclusive of all faiths, and even those who might be a little more agnostic, who are seeking and want to find spirit. And Ladaine speaks to that. And so she actually does a nice job. She talks about how people who haven't experienced God in a positive way and that kind of thing, how here I help make it seem possible for them. And so I just want to make sure that that's the gist of the spirit part, is that we're really helping them see that it's invitational into a relationship with the divine, and it's inclusive of, again, a variety of faiths, and also intentional to not be triggering because again, a lot of people, particularly if it happens, childhood sexual abuse, a lot of times there's some tie to
Sure.
to that.
Sure.
Does that make sense, Mary Frances, what I'm asking?
Yep.
Okay. And like I said, I'll coach Anthony on that too. And so my thought is that the fact that you are kind of at the very end, I think you and I can then kind of move into the 7:45 time frame and really begin to summarize and kind of make sure we punctuate almost the takeaways that we want people to hear. So I think there's, again, some art and science to this. I think we have a plan around some of the big salient points we want them to have heard out of it. But also, hopefully there's some wonderful nuggets that come out, as whether it be themes across the three groups or just, kind of a standout statement that we want to pull forward. But I see you and I kind of tying a bow on it at 7:45, so that we really kind of make sure they hear what we really wanted them to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I probably would, Michelle, probably that would look like is that, well, I'm going to be on anyway, because I'm going to be doing the questions to Mary Frances and Anthony. So what I'll do is I'll probably just say, thank you, Anthony, for, your great contribution, whatever he had to say. And then I'll say, so Mary Frances, and what I will also make sure, and I'm going to make myself a little note, when I'm introducing you, I will make sure they know your role with the organization. I don't know that we need to tell them that you married Randy and I, but that's a really cool thing, Michelle.
Cool.
But I will name the role in the organization so that when we move to this 7:45 place, it makes sense that you're there. Mary Frances is with me, kind of doing a summary, and maybe even, it could kind of be a little blend of appreciation for the voices that spoke with some of the standouts and that kind of thing. If we have time, and this is where my little scrunch comes in, if we have time, oh boy, I just noticed I screwed up. I've got two 7:45s on my document.
You do.
Oh boy, wow. We'll figure that out. But if we need scrunch time, with the questions, my thought was, thank you for submitting your questions. We wanted to make sure we had plenty of time for the panelists to speak, and we've actually gotten tight on time, and we want to honor your time. So I'm going to send out an email with response to those questions to all of you, so you can something like that. Does that seem okay if we end up needing that time?
So how are you going to send it out to the participants?
Mm-hmm. So I will have had all their emails.
Okay.
Because
right. You have to invite them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I would just blind copy them.
And I guess, are you allowing, so you're not having people register, right? Anybody with the link is going to be able to join?
We had that question last time, and we asked people to let us know. I had a lot of people who intended to come and didn't make it, or people who showed up, they didn't think they could, and then they showed up. I mean, it was all over the board around that. So is there value in having them tell us in advance?
I mean, the value is that you will capture everybody's email address. But what it does do is limit people from sharing the link. Mm-hmm. And having, like, say you send me the link, I can already think of 5 or 6 people I would share this link with, mm-hmm. So it kind of takes that away. If you're okay with having it not be registered, you just be aware you might have people that you don't have their email addresses, and then
got it.
We might just need to do something in the chat box and say, please put in your email address if you want to have correspondence with me or something like that.
Mhm. Now, as I'm looking at this very aggressive agenda,
Yeah, you definitely are more than an hour.
I know. I'm almost wondering if we don't do the Q&A.
Well,
I have to step away for a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, and I think I see Tori coming in. Are you there, Tori?
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Okay, so Michelle just stepped away.
So we don't do Q&A, maybe?
Well, that's where we are right now. So when I sent out the agenda, I double dipped on some time frames, and so it's longer than an hour currently. And so we just opened that question up around the value of Q&A, and is that something that could go given all the other pieces that we want to cover?
So Tammy,
Mm-hmm.
what I keep getting, I'll say two things. One is I couldn't understand when we switched church to video. I just thought, okay, this will be the same, right? It'll just be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been like less and less ability, it seems, of people to really stay engaged for that long. So if there are ways to shave off a minute here or there, I think it would be helpful.
I'm down with that. Do we want to reduce a little bit of time around the giveaways too? That's an option.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, right now, the time, so, all right, let me ask the question. So when you look at the agenda and what we've just covered, where do you see the possibilities of shaving it? I go to somewhere in my brain, but I'll ask the question.
Well, what do you want to do with this moving forward? Once you've got this and you've got it recorded, do you want to keep using it, or is it like, how do you want to use it?
That's a great question. I see this as something that we forward out to the group distribution so that the people that showed interest, if they weren't able to make it, they can watch it. I think we share it with all the people that were on the call so they could share it with others. So I see it as a very live tool for people to share and continue to get the word out around the book and the use of the book.
So what if you took the giveaway part and made that live and took it out of, like we come to the end, and then you've got at least 5 minutes where we'll still do it, and we'll say, okay, hang around for the giveaway, but that's not part of the recording.
So the giveaway is already recorded?
I think what Mary Frances is suggesting is that we actually move it on the agenda to 8 o'clock and say, stick around, we've got a giveaway now. And so when we can end the recording at the end of kind of the real content, and then say, and then cut it off where we say, stick around for the giveaway.
Oh, cool.
And then that's a part, because that's not something that anybody would. And I had thought the same thing, Mary Frances. I had thought about it in the context of just when we cut cutting the video to send, just cutting at that point. But by doing it afterwards, it's elective. If you want to give an extra 5 minutes, then you can be part of the giveaway. If you don't, then you can go ahead and drop off the call.
Right. Yeah.
Does that bump it down to under an hour?
Let's see. Well, we
Because
still,
I'm in agreement. I think you have a hard time holding on to people for
Mhm.
an hour sometimes.
Well, it bumps us down to an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay, so then maybe do we shave off some, like you said, from the Q&A?
Well, either the Q&A could go, but that is actually an engagement opportunity. So that might actually be.
Mhm.
So what we could do, the where I see is we could do maybe shave it from our big segment is the reviewer, doing the reviewers, panel conversation. So
Mhm.
shaving that.
Yeah.
I feel like if we have, so you've got the room opens at 6:45. You've got 10 minutes of slides 2 through 13.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's a long time. 10 minutes is a long time.
Mhm.
Your song is 3 minutes. Your song is basically 4 minutes.
Mhm.
Is there a way to shave that 10 minutes down to 5 minutes or
Mhm.
into the
Mhm.
to the duration of the song?
But that isn't really live time. That's just letting people sign in.
So so slides 2 through 13, that's not part of recorded time, and the This Is Me song?
It could be, but it's not time that they're. I mean, people are going to be between. My thought is between 6:50 and 7. You're going to have people signing in. Some people are good about getting in a little bit early. There's going to be probably a lot of people coming in around 6:58. But it's really, for me, it's just a holding space for allowing people to have that 10-minute window of coming in, getting settled up. I forgot my water, whatever. But to me, that's not.
I think that's a great idea that Mary Frances had that. So maybe you start the recording right at 7.
Oh, you're talking about the recording, not the agenda.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is that what you were saying, Mary Frances?
No, I thought you were actually recording from slide 1. So Michelle,
Mhm.
Michelle, if this is a webinar instead of a Zoom room, I can't remember, even though I've been in 10,000 webinars, will it be the same? People can come in and chat and.
Well, it all depends how it's set up with the chat. You will not see the attendees. Okay, so the only people that you will see will be who we set up as panelists. So I assume that would be Tambry, Tori, you. Is Leslie going to be there? The reviewers. So they're going to be the only people you will actually see. You can set the chat box up in a couple of different ways. You can allow people to chat just with the host, just with the panelists, or you can have a free-for-all with the chat, but they will not be seeing each other. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So I guess I think that, since, to your point, Mary Frances, we are going to use this as a marketing tool. It seems like starting at 7 when the content really goes live makes sense. So the question mark is that we are still going to have, again, just the way at least mine was, it was like I could open it in 15-minute segments. And so 6:45, I couldn't open it at 6:50, but I could open it at 6:45. But I mean, what I'm hearing you say is, do we start the flow of the music and the slides at 6:55 and just assume that everybody's coming on in that 5-minute window?
Well, I think my question is evolving now to something different.
Okay.
Do you want that song as part of the video? And if you do, well, I guess that's the first question. Do you want that song as part of the video?
I think,
Or can we even do that, Michelle, if she's going to use this as a promotional tool? Can we do that without permission?
That is a very good question.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yep. So I think we just answered your question, Mary Frances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so in that case, we'll just have to be really
I'm wondering if there's a way to, at some point, really do like a mock webinar, right? To kind of run through this, even if all the people aren't here, even if it's just us and other people playing parts, right?
yeah.
To really get a good sense of what this timing is going to be. I have just, in the 7 or 8 months that I've been helping people with these meetings, it's so important to have really, really good tech rehearsals to just hammer out all this stuff. And so that, when you do this, I forget the actual date, you are ready and you know what's coming, for as much as we can know what's coming.
Right. So
and even to have like scripted, like,
yeah.
So for example, I don't know Anthony, and it says here 5 minutes plus 10 minutes in that section. I have told people 2 minutes, 3 minutes max, and then I've gotten 6 minutes, 9 minutes.
Yep.
So really just to make sure people understand they'd have to.
Right.
Yeah.
So that,
scripts are fabulous. I mean, it's unfortunately an extra layer for people.
Well, the piece is, so to your point, I had told Ladane, I told all of them that it was going to be a short period, like 5-minute max, and every one of them went over. And when I tried to skim down Ladane's, she has 5 minutes of great content. So you might be able to help me, Michelle, when you look at it and say, Tamber, you really, although it feels ego-wise good to put this in here, I can skinny it down and have the salient points for this. So I'm open to that. But at the same time, I don't know that we can script the panel because they're responding to we're going to have the questions, and I can be a mean facilitator. So what I can do is just say, be very quick and clear, and make sure that everybody's clear that we're just trying to do real great, impactful snippets in response to the video they watched and the answers to the questions. And so I'm thinking maybe what we do is we say like 6 minutes of response instead of the 10, knowing that we might go over a minute some places. But I think we can shave that out, and that might make that piece, to Mary Frances's point around it being a little, making sure we keep people's attention, that'll keep it going. And I will try and keep my part as quick as possible as far as, I gave myself 5 minutes for the welcome review and the overview, but I probably can do that in 3. And I think the sharing about the other pieces, I do think 5 is probably a realistic piece around that. But so maybe what we do at this point is, I think we're feeling pretty good, and we haven't quite finished with the agenda, but I think maybe what we do is for a next step, content wise, Michelle and I could work on some of the real specific pieces and then come back together to play it, kind of have what, let's see. I hear us having two different things, Michelle. I heard a mock webinar, really just to kind of see the flow and have we timed this out well. And then I also heard, I'm trying to find your language, a technical rehearsal for kind of the people that are going to be involved. So they really
Right.
did.
Yes, two different things.
Yeah, yeah. And so I think that given the feedback that we've had so far, I think that at this point, and so one of the things we'll take, Mary Frances, is we'll look at that 6:50 to 7 o'clock time frame and see if it just makes sense to have it rolling twice to get through all the slides and things, or do we skinny it down and the blank slide of welcome to the launch party, the blank slide sits up for, up until 6:55 or whatever that magic time is, and then we get into the slides. So I think that's something that Michelle and I can take offline and work through, and then pull us back together for the mock webinar and find a couple of willing participants to kind of work through that. The one thing I want to make sure so I still have a couple of questions on the okay, so does everybody feel good about what I just said? Let me pause.
Yeah.
Mary Frances, you good?
Yep.
Tora, you're good?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm recognizing that we're after 12 now, and I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. So my thought is that, okay, so Mary Frances, we finish up, and Mary Frances and I kind of do a little bit of what we heard, what excited about us, appreciation for the panelists, and then move to talking a little bit about, what's next. So that, and this was a slide, Mary Frances, that again, you're welcome to give me feedback on, but I changed kind of the what's next for this audience. To me, the what's next is that we want to have people really use this book as a resource, see this book as a resource. We want to build awareness within each community. We really want to have outreach to other organizations. So for example, in Charlotte, there's an organization called Safe Alliance that works with women who have been domestically abused, or other organizations that address sexual assault. So we're outreaching to those kinds of organizations. And it's also our intent to expand website resources, because we have it, and that gave me a little opportunity to plug the website for them as well. So kind of talking about what's next, and then moving to the, ask us question, if we feel like we've got time for the ask, but that would, again, engage and keep people, it will engage, and it's just another kind of different component. And then our big ask coming about the fact that we really want to begin to expand the reach, mind, body, and spirit, build awareness of the book, and also try and work in getting our media messages out there. So, opportunities to connect with different media sources that they may be aware of, and then kind of getting to our the kind of your network, your connections, and how we can do that. And so my specific, so I said, please email me, and the three asks I had were thoughts around how to build a community of healing with this book as a catalyst. And that gets a little bit to your point, Mary Frances, that you and I have emailed about with the social, anyway, the societal challenges we have around this. And so, anyway, that's kind of what getting at that. Any names of individuals that you would like for us to contact. So if you have groups that you're individuals that you would want us to either contact, reach out to, send the video to, please let us know. And then the last piece being your physical address, so that we can send you a complimentary book as gratitude for your time and advocacy. So how does that all sound?
Is that for the whole audience?
Yes.
So that might be 100 books. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a website in the chat. You might want to just touch base with. It's the Resource Center for Women in Ministry in the South. Mary Frances, are you familiar with them?
No.
They're in Durham. I'm just wondering if you could get them on board with this book.
Yeah, I'd love to invite them to this event.
Right. So yeah, so take a look at their website.
Right. What was the name of them?
I put it in the chat.
In our, I heard you say that and I didn't. Okay, I will look at that.
Yeah.
Got it. Yes, so I think the more people we can get our books in the hands of, the more. I mean, I just feel like everybody that touches it really seems to be touched by it, and so, you know, I just think I just a little tiny shout out. Yesterday, somebody who just graduated from ECU had the book, and she texted me and said, you know, I just got the book and I started reading it. I'm obsessed! Exclamation points. You did such a great job, blah, blah, blah. And so the I'm obsessed part, I mean, she's my audience. I mean, I would love the young 20 somethings to get this book and anyway, so I kind of feel like if we can get these in people's hands, maybe they'll get obsessed. This is kind of the right reason I shared that with you. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so then, and again, we can tweak these slides. This is just kind of placeholders. The next slides are for the giveaways that we are going to shift toward the end. That's what we've kind of said. But currently we have the artwork, the blanket, the hope blanket, the soap, the Vibe soap, and the bracelet that we're going to create some language around. So that's all. We'll slide that to the end, and then I've got you with our mindful moment. Closing words, expanding the impact of the light, and I've got that for you again, Mary Frances. And actually, what we could do is that play the closing song, Rise Up. We could actually use that time. We don't have to hold on to them, and probably to what we said about the earlier song, we probably don't want to have that as part of the recording. So maybe we play that after Tori does her giveaway.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Any other questions or things we need to think about as far as this webinar looks like?
I mean, I will have plenty more.
Right.
But yeah, I don't right now.
Okay. All right. Mary Frances, are you good for now?
I guess for me, my next steps would be kind of getting the video done, right?
Like pulling out those little segments.
Yeah. So that would be a good next step for me. Okay, and then maybe Tambra, you and I can set up a time just to go over how a webinar works, because I would really want you to understand that. And I don't know if Tori and Mary Frances need to be a part of it, but again, being conscious of people's time.
Right. No, I agree. I think that's good. We can definitely, and in the meantime, I will look and see if I've got that webinar capability that you and I were talking about. And if I don't, I'll upgrade and make sure.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's good. And I guess I will kind of do a little bit of shifting from a slide perspective based on the reorganizing, and I will update the agenda based on, so I'll just update both documents, get it out to everyone. And Mary Frances and Tori, as you receive it, there's a few slides again that I changed the language on to be appropriate for this audience. And so if there's any kind of tweaking or whatever, I'm completely comfortable. I just tried to give us something to react to. Yeah, so I think that's I'm going to write down the thing that Michelle sent before we go off so I can make sure I check out that. Tori, it's rcwms.org. Tori helps me do a lot.
Okay, rcwms.org.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I'll reach out to them.
So, okay, closing this down, my real quick question for you, Michelle, is that I have East Carolina is engaging with us around this topic and this resource. And so they are, this is a little bit of mine as of moving into our updates around the work we're doing. But what we're doing right now is they want us to do a video, like a 2.5-minute video, to be able to share with the students there. And my thought was that I just do a Zoom video and just kind of record it, stop it, save it, and send it out. Is that reasonable?
It is as easy as that.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Cool. And just like even what we're doing right now, I would just set up, I would just like get on and just kind of start a meeting, but it's just me and I'm just talking and I can play around with that.
Yep. And then when the meeting ends, you know, it saves it to your, you'd save it to your computer. You'd have to rename it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then you could, it will probably be too large to email, maybe not. So I don't know if you use Google Drive.
Well, what if I did the YouTube thing? What if I put it out on my YouTube?
There you go.
And then,
Sure. And then just, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you could, and if you didn't want it public, you could make it private or unlisted on YouTube.
Okay, that's true. I can make it private. That's right. Since they're paying for it, it's theirs. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. I love that that was an easy answer. Michelle, you have to understand, everything that I just said in the past 5 minutes is something I've learned in the past year. I mean, my head's about to explode with all the technical stuff. So I'm really quite proud of myself that I could say, can't I just save it to YouTube?
Yes.
That was not me a few months ago. Tori,
it was a lot of people.
I'm really proud of you too.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
My head explodes on many days around this stuff. Okay, well, thank you, Michelle. So grateful to have technical experts in my life that can help me look good and create wonderful tools for us. Because I really do see this as I'm excited about the event, which is November the 18th. If you haven't gotten
I have it on my calendar.
And so I'm excited about the event and the opportunity to engage this group and again, just really have a good, wonderful, beautiful professional presentation and then something that we can utilize for future marketing. So very excited.
Excellent. I'm glad to be on board.
Thank you. Well, just I guess if you want to send me, I've got a good bit of availability next week. So if you just want to send me some windows of time,
Sure.
and you and I will book something. Okay.
Right. Sounds good.
Right, sounds great. All right. So I'm going to let you go.
Sounds great.
The other two ladies I'm going to keep hostage. So
Okay.
I got a little more business to do. All right. Okay. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye. Okay. How y'all doing?
Okay, how are you?
I got a little bit more time left.
All righty. Well, let me hit some of the highlights. I've got my sheet here. Where's my sheet for us to cover? Real quick about the blog. Let me share screen real quick and show Mary Frances something. Where is it? It's not Outlook. It's, dang it. I don't see it. All right. Well, it's so weird. It was up. Maybe it's. Let's see if this is it. No. Oh well. I'm not going to worry about it. So there's a picture. Thank you both for your feedback around the blog. I'm going to update based on that. There was one quote you asked me about, Mary Frances, and I wasn't sure what you meant by your question. So I sent you an email about it, but I just want to make sure I understood what you, everything else made sense to me.
Oh, okay.
And I
Let me
commented
look.
back on the Google Doc about, I'm not sure what you mean by this. So I tried to
Okay.
respond to other, anyway. So that's the one thing I'll need clarification on. And then there were two pictures in that email, and one is a woman kind of walking down some rocks, her hands on a rock, and then the repelling one is below that. And so Tori kind of liked the hand on the rock, walking down the rocks, and you liked the repelling one. So, but you didn't see the first one. So if you could look at it and let me know what you think, Mary Frances, that would be great. I'll use that.
I saw two pictures.
Oh.
It did. I saw a woman, you know, the back of a woman.
Right, that's it.
And then I saw you.
And actually, that's not even me, but she kind of looks like me.
What?
That's not me.
I was so impressed.
No, that was an Unsplash image.
I thought that was you.
But I did do that. I did that very thing. I repelled a number of times, and I probably looked that good, but that wasn't me actually.
So
That
Tori,
changes your vote or not.
what did you like about the other picture?
Tori, that's a
Are you
question.
talking to me?
Yeah.
And I can't see it on my screen right now. So tell me which other picture you liked. What the one that we're talking about?
The
The
picture,
repelling or what was the other one?
the one that you liked that had the woman walking down the rocks and her hands kind of on the wall.
Yeah.
So Mary Frances wants to know more about
So-
why you like that picture.
To that one, she didn't have anything to tether her to, or to secure her to a safety place or a safe net or whatever. And it just sort of was kind of walking into the unknown is sort of what I was thinking. But we don't have to park on that.
So that's why I was asking. That's so interesting to me because when I saw her standing almost just like looking. I didn't really see movement in that. And then with the one who's repelling, for me, yes, you're tethered, but that is scary as you know what, because you're hanging off the side of a rock, you know, and taking like, so that's just, it's so interesting how, and I think it's an important question because this is how people look at these images, right? They bring their own stuff to the image. And so I'm looking at the repelling thinking that takes so much courage. And then I'm looking at the other one and I see someone, to me, it looked like someone who's thinking about, okay, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, but I didn't see movement in it, but I'll look back at it.
I like what you just said about how much courage it takes to repel, and so maybe that would be a better. No, I like it because you're right. It does, and there's movement.
I guess the piece that with the repelling, you're tethered, and so there, and I guess to me that's almost you are undergirded. And just like as we move into this space, you still want to be undergirded. You're not just kind of moving forward with no support system, but you are having to be the one to take that step into the unknown. So I guess that was when I saw the equipment, it's kind of like, well, we do want people to have. That's why we have the blog. That's why we have the book. That's why those are those tethers that help kind of secure people a little bit while they're making that step. Was a little bit of the analogy I had gone to in my mind. So Tori, you're good with the repelling?
I am very good with the repelling.
Okay. Another question I have for you guys is there was one person that wanted to reach out after the first launch, and he said, can you send me an information packet? And I thought, well, that's a great question. We need to make sure we have an information packet. And so currently, our information packet looks like a speaker sheet that talks about the book and speaking engagements and a little bit about who I am. It has recommendations, what I'm calling comprehensive recommendations from a variety of different viewpoints. And we have a list of possible speaking topics, like 4 or 5 different speaking topics. Do we feel like that is enough to say this is our information packet, or is there more we would like to do for that?
I'm here.
I think we should include some stickers in that too.
Well, this is going to be a virtual. This is going to be something that we are mailing out.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, there might end up being some physical mailing, but I'm seeing it more as emailing stuff. What do you think, Mary Frances?
Didn't we talk about a brochure?
Tell me what you see on the brochure, because it may be the speaker sheet, but well, actually, that's not true. We have a brochure. We do have a brochure, so we could include our brochure as well. We do have a brochure.
Can you forward a copy of all that?
That's what I would love to do. I would love to send you all 4 pieces, and especially the list of speaking topics, because that was something we did in response to a request, and it was just kind of a brainstorm creation. So I think if we want something like that to represent what we offer, I'd love to have kind of that lens as we send it out. So I will absolutely send all 4 pieces for you guys to look at.
That sounds good.
Another next step is I would like to get an invitation out to all these people that we've been talking to, we've been collecting emails and things for the information for the November 18th launch. And so what I was going to do was, if we've got time, we can brainstorm. If not, I'll brainstorm, and then you guys let me know what you think. But I wanted us to get through this conversation around the content before I tried to write an invitation. But I want to get that out early next week. I want to start getting that out to people to get it on their calendars. So just know that that will be coming for you guys to weigh in on. A big picture thing is that, all right, when I think about 2021, I have a few things that are on my radar. One, I want to, I've talked before about wanting to expand our resource section a little more, to have a little more meat to it. So that's one thing I want to do. I'd also like to begin maybe getting into doing some podcasts. I think that might be a way to get the story and the content out. I'd like to do some kind of book club study guide, just so that if people do want to have, 2 or 3 people, or 4 people that they work with, they've got something they can help facilitate that conversation with. And then I also would like to do some kind of a membership site where it's we provide something beyond just the basics, and people who really want to be part of this community can get additional, more robust resources, or maybe it's about building a robust community. So of support. So I've got something up here about all that, but that's all kind of tabled over to 2021. But I wanted to put that out there in the context of, right now it's the 3 of us on the advisory team, but perhaps we add additional people come 2021 to round us out a little more from an expertise perspective. And as I say that, so far, this whole thing has been very led by God. God's kind of just led my heart around different things. And you two were brought into my life, I feel like as God connections. And so in some ways, I don't really want us to go, I'm not saying that I want us to start I don't even know, recruiting or anything like that, but almost just kind of open to who seems to be coming in around this and who could make a good addition to the advisory team. To be transparent, and you guys probably already have this in your head, but Alana made sense, but then her motivations ended up being different, and so I don't want to move too quickly around anyone, to make sure that it's all aligned, that everybody's coming from the same place around what we're trying to accomplish. So that's also my desire, not to do anything too fast. So maybe even having some vetting around how people engage and that kind of thing, to see would they make sense to be part of the advisory team. So just know that that's something that's out there for me. And as you all think about it, just if there's movements in your heart around this, let me know. There are two people that are in the mix right now that may end up becoming possibilities. One of them is Dr. Leah Charnan. She, well, Tori, do you want to just speak for 1 minute about her? Because you actually were the one that brought her in, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts based on all the context I just said.
I love that. I think she's awesome. She's young. She is Jewish. Not that that matters. I think she's mixed race. Not that that matters. But I just think that she would add some really cool new.
She said she was
there.
Yeah, I said she said she was raised Jewish, but she's actually agnostic, which is interesting.
Okay, there you go. I think it just would add some interesting nuances to our group, and I kind of like how she processes, kind of like you, Mary Frances, and you, Tamri, as well. I liked how she used the word organic yesterday when she was talking about the discussions. I just think she would bring an even greater depth to how deep we already are as a group.
Well, and I really would like to have a therapist, kind of to the group as we think about growing our resources and outreach and stuff. I just think that perspective and skill set could be really valuable. So anyway, so she's in the mix for me. And the other person, her name's Megan Young, and I've mentioned her before to you all. She has been doing some research around some websites possibly for us to include in our resource section. And one of the websites that she shared with me was a really cool model around, and they wouldn't call it a membership site, but it is. And it's building community. And she was already in touch with this woman about how she went about doing that. And so Megan might be an interesting person around, again, if nothing else, I think and both of them have this passion for what we're doing. It's not just, I can come in and help with this one thing. I really get a sense that Megan definitely, she's like, I want to get more involved with mental health. She just ended up finishing her undergraduate. She went for basically years and years without finishing and came back. But anyway, if nothing else, I think Megan can be a resource to get us in that place. But I just wanted to put that out there for you all to just know that I think it makes sense for us to have a couple more people that might round us out skill set wise and thinking wise. But I also want to be very smart and intentional about how we go about that. So more to come, but just wanted to plant that seed. And then the last thing, some fun stuff, Mary Frances. We've been talking, you heard me a little bit update around ECU. And so they want to do the Zoom video, not the Zoom video, they want to do a video, and then they want us to be on campus in the spring. So we're all crossing our fingers that would be a possibility. A little shout out, Tori, Patricia sent me a note and she says she thinks they bought 25 books.
Yay, that's awesome.
That's good. Because they're going to use that in their counseling center and use, have it as a free resource to their students. So that's really awesome. And it provides us a great model for other universities. And so then we also met with Oasis, which is up in Boone, Banner Elk area. And Tori, I'll let you give that real quick update.
Well, they serve 4 different counties, and I didn't actually realize how much they do. But not only do they provide just like basic services for victims of domestic violence in all 4 of those counties, because a couple of the other domestic violence shelters had shut down. They provide housing, they provide counseling. I mean, I was kind of astounded at how much that they provide. And so we're going to work with them hopefully on their fundraiser that's called, I think it's Oasis at Midnight, and they ended up, because of COVID, having to cancel it last year. God bless you. But this year they hope to have it, once again, given COVID, in person. And so we hope to have Tambry be their speaker for that fundraiser, which would be good. And as I left Banner Up this morning, I saw a billboard and a couple other things that Oasis had done, which I thought were really great. One of the billboard was actually in Spanish, speaking out to Spanish speaking women. Then we also talked, she gave us sort of some ideas, and I sent a follow-up email to ask for names around App State and who we could contact for that, and Lise McRae as well. And then I asked for her if she'd share the names of the counselors that they use for the women at the shelter there, that are paid either by grant or they volunteer their services free. So we got some good fingers going out with that one there. And she's young, and she is full of passion for her purpose, which is helping avert domestic violence and helping those who've been affected by it.
And they're buying books too to have on hand for people that are at their shelter. And my hope is, I mentioned to her that it's really kind of a workbook, so it might be a nice something to give them that they can do with their own. That then means they need to have more than just some lender copies. But anyway, we'll see where that goes. So I'm rushing through because I know we've been on the call for an hour and a half, and Tori's going to have to get off soon. So those were my big points I wanted to make sure to cover with you guys. What questions or other pieces do you want to make sure we share with one another?
Just to throw out, you mentioned like a book club or book study. Mm-hmm. It made me think of the one with that we're doing with See No Strangers.
Valerie Carr. Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, she had this whole national book study thing. So there was developed this whole chapter by chapter discussion guide, also resources. And after the big national piece, now anybody can, well, if you request, you can access. So I'm using her resources for my book club at church. And so I just feel like there are lots of possibilities there. The other thing, you mentioned a blog, and I think I may have mentioned this before, I can't remember, but like a blog interview with someone.
Are you mean podcast?
Podcast, mm-hmm. Not blog. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like one day, so there was this podcast, my therapist was interviewed on it, and I think there are lots of people. You've got a long growing list of professionals that you could probably interview on podcasts,
That's a great point, because we had talked before about perhaps talking to survivors, but it could be a blend, it could be some survivors, some people who serve survivors.
I think that's a great idea.
And then like each person, especially if you're using professionals, they can, in fact, I think it was my therapist who told me about the podcast. So, they can spread out, they can diffuse the information in their circles to sort of promote their own work, while simultaneously promoting the book and your work.
That's a great idea. You're right.
And then The other piece, you mentioned a couple things for me. If you could help me by just reminding me in an email what you need from me, because I'm having a little bit of what I call COVID brain. It's really and actually I have a doctor's video appointment at 1, just to let you know.
Good. I'm glad.
Well, it's the endocrinologist, it's not the other one, but
Okay. I'm glad Michelle's harassing you too.
Michelle is the one who took me to the hospital in Durham when I almost died, when my blood sugar bottomed out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so she is a very vested interest in your health. Any other
That's
reflections?
awesome.
I appreciate you kind of going back on my laundry list of topics and inserting thoughts. Is there anything else that came up for you?
You're asking me now?
Actually, I was making sure I picked Mary Francis's brain first, and then I was going to ask you.
Gotcha.
Mary Francis is good. Okay, so now you're on, Tori.
Okay, and I hate to do this to you. I'm just going to say I don't have any other thoughts. I'm so sorry that it was scattered for me today. I have to go run and pick up something to eat and take it to my hair appointment now, so I'm not late.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I enjoyed the time that I had with you guys, though. I apologize for having to dash off.
Okay, well, I'll send you the recording so you can hear the beginning of the planning for the launch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All
That
right.
sounds awesome.
Okay. Talk to you later then.
Bye, ladies. Love you guys.
Love you.
Be safe. Bye-bye.
All right, my dear. Well, I'm going to let you go too, so you actually have, a few minutes before you're back on a Zoom call. But thank you for your time, and thank you for looping in Michelle. I feel really good.
She's very good.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
All
Anything else
right.
before we close?
Can we order soap?
Mm-hmm.
Where do we order it from?
That's the Vibey. Hold on. I'm going to be so slick. Hold on. Well, actually, no. Yeah. Okay. It should be on the slide. There we go. VibeySoapCO.com.
It says you're sharing anything.
Oh, you can't see anything. That's weird. Well, let me just read it out to you. It'd be simple. VibeySoapCO.com.
Vibey Soap Co.
Right.
Okay.
Oh.
There should be like a card, a little card with each soap.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll mention that to Tori. And we can get that, make that happen.
That gives like